full lean, the angle is where we talk about racing. But this is everything else. The bikes we ride, the gear we use, the tools we rely on, and the real cost of being a rider. This is Rider. Today, we're talking $10,000 or roughly 115,000 Rand, and trying to build the ultimate motorcycle garage is Australia versus South Africa. We've each been given a budget, 10,000 Australian dollars and 115,000 Rand. That's sort of converted the same way around for dominant South Africa. And we got it simple. Build the best motorcycle garage we can. But there's a catch. Every bike we pick has to be a real listing that we found either in person or online. No guessing, no in-theory bikes. These are bikes you can actually go out and buy today. We've searched Marketplace, Gumtree, Bike Sales, Auto Trader, and we've each picked one bike in each category. Now, we may have approaches slightly different. Don, as per normal, took the easy route and he went to a big dealership and cheated straight off the bat. I did my homework and found them online for you. Let's get into category. Let's get into it.
Can hang on. So just for like international, so it's 10,000 Aussie dollars, 115,000 South African Rand. What is that in sort of US dollars? Like what's the conversion from Aussie dollar to US dollar?
I'd say that's probably around 6,500 to 7,000 US.
Okay, so that's about right. So it's $6,500 to $7,000 US, which translates to 10,000 Australian. And where South Africa, where we have this thing called monopoly money, it's called the Rand. It's 115,000 Rand. And this is kind of fun. By the way, so I did actually go to a proper bike shop and I went to look around. However, all of those bikes are also available online. So if you search them online, they are there also. It's just instead of Donnie, who sat in his beautiful air-conditioned office and played on his computer, and in between playing computer games, he actually searched them. I actually went to a dealership and looked at the bikes myself. So that's what you call dedication.
Yeah, whatever. You were probably out buying ice cream again, and then you just walked in like, oh, I'll do this.
There might have been some ice cream involved, yes.
Yeah. Hey, dude. So, I don't know if you've heard about this thing. It's called LAMS. Now, I'm new to Australia as well. Now, I used to live in New Zealand, but when I moved overseas, I had a full motorbike license, so I never went through the system. So I've just got a full motorbike license, but there's this thing called LAMS. So I had to go look it up, and it's called the Learner Approved Motorcycle Scheme. So when you buy a motorbike in New Zealand or Australia, there's a whole list of them, and beginner bikes, they have to fall into it. So, and one of the categories we've picked is beginner bikes, and obviously my bikes are all what we call LAMS approved. And you jump onto the government website and there's, 20 bikes on there which you're allowed to ride. So beginners aren't allowed on a Hayabusa or a ZX10 or something like that.
In South Africa, it's a bit different. When you're 16, you may not ride anything larger than a 125cc. When the moment you turn 17, you can get a learner's for a bigger bike. And once you've got that learners, you can ride anything. Just one little clause, you can't carry a passenger. That's it. So literally at 17 years old, you can ride to learners, get a learner's document, that you carry around, and it gets wet in the rain and all of that. Anyway, And then you can climb on like a BMW S1000RR and go ape. It's South Africa's a little bit different. We take survival of the fittest and natural selection very seriously. Yeah.
Hey, it is what it is. Hey, dude, so our first category, and I'm going to tell you what I did, I went and I had a look. Oh, man, my eyesight's going. So I selected a 2023 Honda CL500, and we'll be throwing the pictures up so people can see it. I don't know if you know this bike.
I don't know this bike. That's rare for me. What is a CL500? We don't have it yet.
It's one of these new parallel twins. I know you love those. And basically, it's just Honda's interpretation of what I would call a modern scrambler. You know the Ducati Scrambler? It's sort of Honda's take on that, and I think it's a lovely beginner's bike. Obviously, it's semi-naked, and it's got a little bit of a retro vibe to it. And I thought, as a lamb's bike, as a beginner bike, it's got the styling. It's obviously more upright. You're not leaning over on it, so it's going to be nice and comfy. But the only thing is, your friends might rag you about it.
I imagine it's got the same motors like the NX 500 and all of those things, the parallel twin 500. It's a very good motor.
Yeah.
But I've chosen a motorcycle that you definitely will not get ragged for. And I'm pretty sure it does meet your lambs, goats, whatever the hell it's called, philosophy there, the laws. I've gone for it. I found the Triumph Speed 400, a 2024 model. Now, I don't know if you've seen the Triumph Speed 400. It looks now, Triumph is very, very good at building beautiful motorcycles. In fact, I would say that they have surpassed the Italians in building bikes that are utterly, utterly beautiful. And this is a bike I've ridden myself. It's it's a 400cc parallel twin. It's utterly, I think it's a parallel twin. Maybe it's a single, I can't remember. Okay, I might get that wrong. But anyway, the fact is, it looks absolutely magnificent. It's an absolute blast to ride. It's very, very easy for a beginner. It's got a very low seat, so, if you're like me and you're a little bit short, you can sit on it, but it looks magnificent. And I found it was on sale. It's 85,000 Rand or 7,700 Australian dollars, which is, I don't know, what's it, 5,000 I don't know, whatever. Anyway, guys, work it out. Sit with a calculator. But it looks magnificent. So it's one of these sort of bikes that you will get on, and you'll be able to ride it for a long time and just love it. And generally, because beginners' bike tend to be a little bit sort of vanilla. They all come out going very, it's got to be nice and fuel economical. It's got to be this. This is a bike you can absolutely love. And I've been riding since I was 4. So I've been riding for 40 years now, and I love that thing. So you don't even have to be a beginner to love it. It is a magnificent motorcycle.
And for the next one, I'll let you go first. The next one was daily commuter. What would you recommend for a daily commuter, mate?
So I thought, let me try and vary a bit. My first one was a Triumph, so let me try something else. My daily commuter is a Triumph. It's a Speed 675. Now, Donnie, you remember when you were still in South Africa, we had a 675 Speed Street Triple. It was magnificent thing. It's a magnificent
It's not a
thing.
daily, Donovan.
It is a daily commuter. Have you sat on one of those? We used it as a work bike, so it was like a company bike. I used to go and visit all my dealers. I used to go and do all that kind of stuff. It's got that beautiful triple motor. And I rode one of them. I actually rode, this is a 2013 model, so it's a little bit newer. I rode a 2008 model a little while ago. Yeah. And it feels just as good as the modern motorcycles. But I mean, it's naked, it's sit up. You sit up like this. It gets through traffic very easily. It's small enough, it's nimble. It's got a very easy motor to use. The fact that it's a lot of fun, and you can take it around a racetrack fast and take it on a weekend breakfast, well, that's just a bonus, okay? This one's got 39,000 kilometers, which is nothing. And it's 100,000 Rand, 9,000 Australian dollars. So, Anyway, so tell us what boring thing you got.
Boring? Dude.
Compared to a street triple.
I've got a gorgeous motorbike. I went and I selected a brand new motorbike as a daily commuter. And obviously we're looking for something with some style. And looking for something that's going to snap your head right off. We're looking for something reliable, so a brand new motorbike. And I selected a brand new out of a box 2026 Royal Enfield Shotgun 650. And those go for $9,990 out of a box in Australia.
Okay, that's a bit annoying because that's a very good idea. I rode the Himalaya recently, which is what is it? It's a 400cc adventure, the adventure model, and it is a lovely motorcycle.
They're gorgeous.
It really is. It's gorgeous. It's beautiful. It looks great. Okay, they're made in India, but so is pretty much everything these days. But they are. I mean, they're magnificent motorcycles. The thing about Indian motorcycles, and people got to get this right, whereas the more traditional Chinese bikes, which people, see a lot of, although the new Chinese bikes coming out now are very different. CF Moto, we got QJ Moto, we got ZX and all those. They're all But anyway, what traditionally what happens in the more sort of Chinese models is that it's more like a disposable thing. You buy it, you ride it until it falls apart, and then this is sort of the old school traditional. It's changing a lot now, and then you kind of leave it on the side of the road, walk into the shopping mall, walk into the shop across the road, buy a new one, and carry on. I'm exaggerating slightly, but more or less. Whereas in the Indian market, it's a little different. The average ownership of a motorcycle in India is 10 years. So you've got to buy a bike that's affordable, easy to ride, all that kind of thing, but it's got to last 10 years. Otherwise, no, they won't accept it. And I know because I've been on a few launches with some Indian journalists, and I've got a few friends still from that and all of that, and it's fun talking to them. I mean, the Indian market is difficult. It's a very, very difficult market. They're very, very fussy about what they buy. It's got to be well priced, it's got to be economical, but it's got to last a very long time. So, you find there's a lot of motorcycles coming out of India now. And the Royal Enfield is just one of those. It's kind of like it's sort of the Rolls Royce of Indian motorcycles.
It is.
So I'm a little bit annoyed you actually took that, although I do like my Street Triple. However, I do think that it's a 13-year-old motorcycle. It will probably break down a little bit more, but I have lots of fun until the moment we end up in a cloud of steam.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, what I also like is there's a lot of modern connectivity and stuff on these Royal Enfields, and I find that absolutely mind-blowing. It's such good value, and for $10,000 out of a box, I think it's an amazing bike.
We recently rode these QJ motors, which is new to South Africa. In Europe, they're sold as Benellis, and now I think they sort of wanted to have a European-sounding name. Now they're sort of going, go China, so they've changed all the QJ motor. But also, I mean, they've got it's not a daily commuter, but it's a 400cc or 425, I think it is, cc, four-cylinder super bike. That's 105,000 Rand, which is a little less than 10,000 Australian dollars. And it's a four-cylinder super bike, but also connectivity, all of that. They've got adventure bikes connect to it. They've got the adventure bikes have a little camera in the front, navigation, the full works. And it's all for a ridiculously good price. Okay, now I'm kind of annoyed at the one I chose. I want that one now.
I can't remember who did the last one. Did I do the last one? Did you do the last one?
I started, and then I kind of made a fool of myself. So okay, go on then. Weekend fun bike.
Weekend fun bike. Now, I think my age shows, but I was scrolling through, and then I saw this bike, and I was like, it's not really. It's not a super bike. It's not an off-road bike. It's not an adventure bike. But man, these bikes are just such good quality. And I selected a 2007 BMW K1200S. This specific bike, 9,394 Ks from new.
Barely run in,
Barely run in. It is beautiful, under $10,000.
And it's got a very smooth motor, those things. Very torquey, kind of smooth. And you shame, Donnie, you're a little bit older now, so it's a little bit kind of more sit upright. It's quite comfy. It's got a big screen. You can do a bit of distance on it, and you can also hammer it like a super bike. And 9,000 kilometers is barely run in. So, not bad.
Yeah.
Do you want to know what I've got?
Let me first tell you why I selected this bike.
Okay, go for it.
Because, it's such a capable bike, and it is the German version of what I would call was the equivalent to the FJR, although it's a bit more sporty. Almost in the same vein as the big, it was a Z14 from Kawasaki, and then you had the Hayabusa. And I've always thought of these bikes to be the BMW version of it, but you can do two up on it and just chew those miles away. What did you get, dude?
Well, you're right, because when BMW first brought those bikes out, everybody thought that they were taking on like the Blackbird and the Hayabusa and ZX12, all of that kind of stuff. And not quite. I mean, in those days, BMW didn't build fast motorbikes. Nowadays they do, but in those days, no, we've got to be German and efficient and all of that. But still, it was a lot of fun. Didn't quite take on that. But you won't get a Hayabusa or a ZX14 for under our price cap, I don't think. They're generally quite pricey. So, okay, you said weekend fun bike, and this is a bike I actually rode a couple of weeks ago. I rode this exact motorcycle. It was sitting in the bike shop. I borrowed it from them because I thought, what a jewel, what an absolute blast. Let's go and play with this thing. And it is a bike you would only ride on weekends. It's not the sort of bike you would ride every single day for obvious reasons. I got a 2008 Buell XP12 Lightning.
Man.
Just think about it you were saying you love those bikes. Go on, heap praise upon my choice.
I like those bikes, Don. They have character. They're built by Eric Buell, and that was in the era before he decided to try and build his own motorbike, and he remember he bought that bike, and he bought I think a Aprilia motor. Rotax bought him a motor for a super bike. But before that, he was using Harley Davidson motors. And you picked that bike, and that is a fabulous bike. I really like that bike. Beautiful styling, reliable, easy to get parts for. And from memory, it had one big rim-mounted disc brake on it on the front wheel.
So there were Eric Buell, if you remember, he was an American engineer, started his own kind of racing, but he came from a racing sort of background, and he kind of tried to build his own race bikes. Eventually, his company was bought by Harley Davidson, and they were. So this has a slightly tuned up Harley Davidson Sportster 1200 motor. So as you say, you can get spares for it, but he had a lot of sort of very kind of outward thinking, radical thinking. For example, the fuel tank, in order to try and kind of more centralized the weight, the fuel tank was in the frame. It had this big bracing kind of frame down the side. It had the similar dimensions to a 250cc Grand Prix bike, so very short, very compact kind of thing. The fuel was stored in the frame, the oil was stored in the swing arm, and it had a rim mounted front disc. And the whole idea about it is that instead of having hub mounted discs, which case you need two of them, and the entire thing weighs a lot more, they worked out that if you mount the disc along the rim, outward rim, you need only one disc, and the whole all the material weighs less. Downside is that the mass is further outward, so that kind of made it sort of null and void. It's one of these things that really did not take off, unfortunately, but it was radical thinking. I do remember I did go on a world launch for a Buell when it was still Buell. I mean, Harley Davidson eventually closed it down. Somewhere, where was it, around 2009 or so, they Harley came in, and I remember if I remember correctly, the staff of Buell was sitting in a board meeting, and the Harley execs just sort of walked in, and they went, "Oh, what's going on here? Oh, by the way, closing everything down, goodbye." That's the rumor. But I went on a world launch. They had a whole lot of the engineers and staff from Buell from America, and Eric Buell himself was there. And it was at this racetrack. We had a great time. We were all riding. They were really cool guys. And then afterwards, we get back on the bus to go back to the hotel. And I'm sitting there with a whole lot of the Buell engineers. You know, they really are great guys. And we're driving along in this bus. We sort of just left. We kind of driven a little bit. And next thing, one of the guys gets a phone call. "Oh, hello?" And he's like, "Oh, wait, aren't you in the bus?" And then he starts looking around. He goes, "Wait, what do you mean?" "Oh, really? I'm not doing an American accent because it's terrible. Well, my accent is terrible." He says, "Oh, okay, yeah. I'll get Johnny to quickly to come back and get you. Okay, yeah, sure. Guys, we left Eric at the racetrack." It turns out everybody had piled in. They'd done their thing, and he was, I don't know where he was, somewhere with the mechanic somewhere or in the toilet or something. But the bus drove off, and he came walking out. The bus was gone. The boss of the company. But yeah, they were really great guys. Very interesting motorcycle. And it's the sort of motorcycle you will ride. I mean, that sort of blend of great sort of compact handling. It's not terribly uncomfortable. It's naked, so it's kind of set up. And then that Harley Davidson engine just gives it so much character, so much life, and it's just something you can't possibly ride and not be happy while you're riding it. But it is weekend only. It's not the sort of, it is an older motorcycle. You don't want to, it's not the sort of thing you want to ride every day. But yeah, it's one of those things you look forward to riding on the weekend.
Yeah, so obviously, I'll send you the list of bikes we're picking, and it's a little bit open to interpretation, obviously. So we're going to move swiftly on to the next category, and the next category was the adventure bikes. And I went for a 2019 BMW F750 GS, selling for $9,000, which I thought was good money. 12,000 Ks on it. Really nice bikes. I remember I was at the world launch when they launched these bikes. And I've always been a fan of a GS. Unfortunately, I couldn't find a nice 1250 or 1200 in the price range. I could, but most of them had 60, 70,000 Ks on it. And the 750 is actually not a bad bike. And because it's not a big boxer motor, it's better weighed for off-road. You can stand up on the pegs and you can drive it through the corners, and it's not as heavy. It's still got enough grunt on it, and it will still go day and night.
Actually, an 850. So what they did is they built 850 motors, and then what they did is they got the engineers, the guys in the IT department, to tune all the mapping and the fuel injection, all that, to dumb down the horsepower output, and then they just called it a 750. That way they don't have to build two motors; they can just build the one. It is a very sensible motorcycle. It's extremely sensible, lots of brains, lots of everything. It's not all that exciting though, is it?
I'm just realizing I've got BMW and BMW. I must be going old, dude.
You are turning
Fine,
into an
what did you
old man,
get?
aren't you?
Oi.
Okay. All right. Mine's a little different, but it has its downsides, but also has a lot of upsides. I chose 2012 Kawasaki KLR 650. And
You went for
here's
the
kind
big
of
thumper.
yeah, okay, so it's got 27,000 kilometers, which is just nothing on one of those things. It's 60,000 Rand or 5,400 Australian dollars. Why can't we all just use the same currency? I know why. It's because, $1 will buy us medium-sized house here in South Africa. We'll need a lot of change. We'll have to invent like we'll have to invent like a 0.5% change here in South Africa. Yeah. But here's the thing about it, okay? I rode one quite recently, and you had the previous KLRs, which were very small, very simple, hardly any fairing. They were basically kind of off-road bikes with a slightly bigger motor. The slightly later ones, which is now 2012 included, had more of kind of a fairing up at it. They had some bodywork around the side, all of that, but they still have a very simple motor, the little 650cc. This one was a liquid cooled. The first ones I think were air cooled. This one's liquid cooled, but it's also carbureted. So here's the thing: you can go exploring on it.
Carbureted.
So it's got the sort of comforts of a proper adventure bike. It's got the nice screen. It's got all the fairies. It's got all of that, but it's very simple. So you can. I mean, I live in Africa. I can go up to anywhere in Africa, and if something goes wrong on this thing, and it probably won't, because let's be fair, it's a Kawasaki KLR, it just won't break. But if it were to break, I could just get a piece of wire off a fence and a rock and fix whatever it is. You know what I mean? I can take the tiniest little cool toolkit and just fix it, and it's extremely easy to ride. It's extremely capable. It can go absolutely anywhere, regardless of what the road looks like. It can do absolutely anything. And the only downside is it's not really much of a mile cover. Like in Australia, you're not allowed to speed there because they'll give you a public execution the moment you go 1 kilometer per hour over the speed limit. Whereas here in South Africa, you just keep a can of Red Bull, and if the cops pull you over, you just hand them a can of Red Bull and they let you go. If the cops pull you over, there's not a lot of them, and most of them don't. Even if you go to the out of the way roads, no one really cares. But yeah, so it's not going to do any of that high-speed stuff. But if you want to go exploring, like properly exploring, go find some really cool out-of-the-way things, you can go anywhere on your KLR. It won't break, and if it slightest chance it does break, you can fix it very easily.
Yeah, I must say, Don, I didn't think of those, but those bikes, there's numerous stories of people tracking from the north of Africa all the way to the south, or vice versa, on those KLRs. They are literally the Land Cruiser of the motorbike world. That's a real good choice. Not that comfy, a little bit vibraty, but like you say, they're not
that bad. Yeah. So next one is Cruiser. So I went a little bit out of the field. I went and looked. I found like a few interesting things. I found a Harley Davidson Sportster 1200. I found there was an Indian going around. I tried to find an Indian Scout, because that's one of my favorite motorcycles ever. It's just the way that motor works and the way everything works. It's one of those bikes you can't be upset when you ride a Scout. It's just such a cool, and it's one of these things you can't really describe. It just has such a character about it. It's so much fun. It just fills you with this sort of, as James May calls it, a fizz. It gives you a fizz. Unfortunately, I could not find one within our price range. All of them were over budget. I even found a Triumph Rocket 3, the older Triumph Rocket 3, the 2.3 liter, but it was 120,000 Rand, which is about $10,500. So, I could have maybe asked for forgiveness, but no, we're going to stick to the rules. Still, it's amazing we can find one of those for that price. But I found something also interesting, and sticking with my theme of I'm going to choose a lot of different bikes from a lot of different brands, I chose a Triumph. And not the Rocket, though, the Thunderbird. It's a 2015 model, 51,000 Rand. It's got the parallel twin motor, but it's a great motorcycle, and again, really good looking, and it's a bit kind of different. It's a bit sort of interesting. just on, I don't know, it's sort of weird. Maybe I'm starved of attention or something, but you kind of just, you want to kind of appear on something, you look a little bit different. It's really flashy like Harley Davidson. It's got the Triumph build quality, the Triumph feel, Triumph technology, really great. In fact, it's such a great motorcycle that Triumph stopped building it. But anyway, this one was 110,000 Rand, or just less than $10,000. So yeah, why not? It's a great motorcycle.
Well, obviously, I saw this online and I was like, yes, it's got 78,000 Ks on it, but man, I picked a 2011 Victory Vegas jackpot up for $9,990, and I was like, I'm gonna go for this cruiser. It is just the bee's knees.
Interestingly, we're supposed to be giving like sound advice here. We've both chosen motorcycles that have gone out of production.
You've got 2 Triumphs, and I've got 2 BMWs.
I'm on my 3rd Triumph, my friend. There was a Speed 400, the Street Triple. I'm on my 3rd Triumph. Good heavens. Okay.
How much are they paying you under the table, bud?
Next thing I'm going to be very stupid and choose a Ducati. I don't know. But anyway. But those victories were just, they kind of had a thunder about them. They were very sort of eccentric kind of motorcycles. Then Victory sort of became, Victory was owned by Polaris. Polaris then bought Indian motorcycles. They then sort of canned Victory and just started building Indian, and they're still going. FTR 1200 is one of my favorite motorcycles. Indian Scout. I swear, I really did try, and I searched far and wide to try and find one in price budget. There just weren't any. But that's such a fun motorcycle, and the Victory all kind of goes with that.
Now the full lean crowd, they're going to lean in when they hear this one. So we're going to talk sports bikes. I don't know if I should let you go first or if I should go first. I might have just selected a Triumph.
No, I think it's your turn to go first. I went first last time. I think mine might be disappointing.
So I had 2 bikes in mind here, and I'm torn, dude. I'm torn. I've got a Ducati 848 there.
Okay.
Obviously, it's I like them. It's a baby Panigale. But then also I've got a Triumph 675 Model 30.
Daytona.
And Daytona, man. And I'm not sure. I'm torn about it. If I was to personally buy it, the Ducati's got 41,000 Ks on it, 8.5K. And the Daytona's got 20,000 Ks at 9.5. But I do know that the Triumph motor is probably going to cost me less in the long run. It is not as emotive as the twin on a Ducati, but it's for bang for buck. It will run with an 848 every day, and I think I'm going to pick the Daytona.
Oh, okay. I would love to say, okay, that 848 is terrific, but with 41,000 kilometers, I'm just sort of thinking again. Yeah, okay, exactly. That thing's a ticking time bomb. Look, the 848 1098 Ducati that's when Ducati actually started building better motorcycles. You remember the 999 nearly made the company bankrupt. Part of it was it's a little bit out there. It was a completely different design after the 916 design, but also they tried to compete with the 1000cc4s, so they made a very high revving, and it tended to be a little bit unreliable. I got told a story. The guy he's the caretaker for the Ducati museum at the Ducati factory. He's been working for Ducati since the 1970s. He's their longest standing employee. I don't know if he's still there or not, but we went there for a launch, and he took us for a tour of the factory, and it was kind of strange. We had like 30 international journalists all over the world, all standing there at the entrance of the factory, and there's this old-timer Italian man standing there going, hello, hello. Now, we want to talk, this is exactly what sort of thing he said. Now, we want to tell you a little bit about the way Ducati works. Now, you remember the early Ducatis from like the 90s, you remember those bikes? You remember them? They were a little bit, this is his exact words, they were a little bit shit. Yes, they were a bit shit. They blew up all the time. They broke. That's exactly what it is. We're all standing there going, whoa, dude, easy there, easy there. You're meant to be kind of on Ducati's team. And apparently, what Ducati did is actually called in a team from, if this is all to be believed, from Porsche. This was before the VW takeover. They called in a team from Porsche who did a study of their manufacturing process. And they came back afterwards and they said, but you do everything in-house? And Ducati was like, yes, of course we do. You know, we're proud. We do everything in-house, you know. And they said, why? It's like, wait, what do you mean why? You know, they do their own wiring, their own plastics, all the machining, everything done in-house. And they were like, but you can go to like Bosch or Magneti Marelli, who are experts of wiring and all that kind of stuff. You can buy it from them, much better stuff, much cheaper. You just spec what exactly you want, and then, you know, get it yourself, and all the plastics and all the kind of everything. And eventually Ducati kind of went for that thing of the whole just-in-time outsourcing thing, where the factory itself mostly became more of an assembly plant than a machining, you know, an actual thing. They used to do everything. I remember going there when in the sort of early, I think it was around the year 2000 or so, and there was wiring areas where people were putting wiring harnesses together and all that. Now they all arrive, you know, and that came out. So after 999 they started doing that then, but the 1098 and 848 era, it changed. I mean, Ducati went from this very unreliable, known for blowing up, known for catching fire, and became this sort of far more reliable sort of thing, because they started outsourcing everything. So now, I mean, a lot of their electronics is Bosch, the same sort of thing you get in like Audis. So you can't say the electronics are unreliable. I mean, they're German. So I would say that 840, but still 41,000 kilometers. And how did the people ride that bike before that? You know, it's a problem with superbikes, which is going to kind of lead me on to mine. So I went and had a good look around at all the different superbikes. There weren't a lot of older superbikes there. I really couldn't find any. Most of them were very, very new, because people don't keep superbikes. They change over a lot. And most of them were like S1000 RRs, and there were a bunch of Ducati Panigales and modern day Fireblades, a couple of ZX10s, none of them in budget. And then eventually I came and I sort of decided, let me change this up a little bit. This is a bike that's perhaps strains the definition of superbike a little bit, but it is a slightly more sensible option, and it still is a lot of fun. I found a 2013.
It's a BMW, isn't it?
No, nearly as bad. Okay, hear me out. Prepare to be stunned by sensibility. A 2013 Honda CBF 1000. Look at me stunned.
Right, so next one.
51,000 kilometers, which, no, hang on, that's not that one. 45,000 kilometers, which on a Honda, I mean, a Honda motor like that one, it'll outlive the sun. You know what I mean? It's never going to blow up ever. It'll outlive you. You know, it's and it's 80,000 rand. And as I said, actually, but then the bikes you can find are like old CBR 600s from 2006 with like 86,000 kilometers, and you can just see they've been pulled out of their arse for 20 years. And you're just kind of looking at it going, oh, really? Do I have to? Plus also, I mean, this is a motorcycle. It's fast enough. It's pretty fast, you know. You can go around corners, and you kind of sit a little bit further up. And, hey, I'm in my 40s now. You're in your 50s. This is how we are, you know. Let's be fair. If we climbed on a proper superbike now and went for like a 2-hour ride, we would die. We would need medical attention. Let's be clear.
It hurts the wrists.
It hurts everything, trust me. A friend of mine, actually, he's in his 50s, took a superbike out for a ride. And he said, so when he stopped, someone had to help him off the motorbike. They actually had to come around and someone had to help him lift his legs off. Apparently his back was knackered, his arms were knackered. He couldn't climb off yet. But don't worry, I mean, this is my sensible one. I've more than made up for it a little bit later. Actually, probably starting with the next one. We said touring bike. Maybe I should go first. No, okay, tell you what, you go first on this one, because I think I've been a bit stupid.
So just a reminder for people watching, every one of these bikes are actually genuinely currently listed online or in the shops, and we will provide the links in the description below. So if you're dreaming of buying a bike, this might just be it. Next category, touring bike. Don, you wouldn't believe what I picked for a touring bike, mate.
Is it a BMW?
It is the sister child of your Biel. I picked a 2009 Biel XP12X Ulysses.
Really? Wow. Okay.
I did. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm
impressed.
It's the same frame, but they come with a nice top box and the side panniers. And I do remember riding it in Natal on one of the rallies I attended there, and Bill was so kind to supply me with one of these, and I actually liked it. It was a really nice bike, nice roll-on throttle response, comfortable all-day riding, and it's just a little bit different.
You're kind of right. My only thing I did not like about the Ulysses, though, is the suspension was a little soft. So, every time you put on brakes, it would go,
it's
and
lovely.
then you accelerate and it kind of goes, and it sort of felt like you're sitting on one of those, those children's, in the playground, they've got those children's wooden horses sitting on a spring, and it sort of rocks back. It kind of gave that impression. But you're right, the same sort of thing, same sort of all of that. No, I'm impressed. I thought you were going to say BMW something or other. Okay, that's...
No.
It's not as gloomy as mine.
You're right.
What?
You're right, Don. It did feel like a lazy boy riding it, and that's the exact reason, because it's got that real compliant soft suspension. At the time, it made me feel a bit seasick. I will admit to it, but at my age, I think it's a nice bike. Come on, blow me away. What did you get? A Royal Enfield, did you?
In the ocean. Okay. My touring bike, my bike for doing distance, for seeing the countryside, doing lots of mileage, is a 2015 Ducati Hyperstrada 939.
Dude, did you miss the brief?
No.
Seriously?
Hang on. Can I justify it for a second here? We didn't say we're buying these bikes individually. We said we're setting up a garage. Now, in my garage already, I have a Triumph Thunderbird, which has a nice big screen, big relaxed, and it's a cruiser, but it's also a touring motorcycle. It's got all the elements required for covering lots of miles. The Hyperstrada is, if you remember, it's based on the Hypermotard. And incidentally, I actually I tried to find one of those, and there was none in the price range. One of my favorite bikes ever was the Hypermotard 1100, the air-cooled one, designed by Pieter Blanche. One of my favorite bikes ever. So this is actually based on the Hypermotard, which is a great motorcycle, except it's got the screen, it's got luggage come standard, it's got a more comfortable seat. It's extremely fun to ride in every way. And here's the thing, right? So when you're touring, you don't necessarily, you do need to cover mileage, and this thing can, you can sit back, relax, put it in a high gear, do a decent speed, and it will be comfortable. It will be very comfortable. But here's the thing, you want to go touring on really interesting places. You want to go into kind of the woods, you want to go through mountains, you want to see great things, and that's going to mean great roads. And if you're sitting on some big, huge touring thing like this, those roads are not that much fun. You're not going to, however, with this thing, it's going to be an absolute blast. And then during the week, if I get tired of my street triple, I can take the bags off, the panniers off, and it's basically the same as a Hypermotard, and I can go play around, do some commuting. So I've got these bikes that are kind of multi-purpose here. So if you're building a garage at home with lots of different motorcycles, keep in mind they can do different things.
When you talk about these bikes, Don, I think of this guy pitching there at the breakfast runs. We used to have those. And then we'd arrive at a place and we all have a nice breakfast. And he'd be ordering salmon and then have a nice cappuccino. And he'll have his brand new Dainises, which he definitely has never been down the road. And then he'd be touring off on his Ducati. So that's kind of what I envision when we talk about this.
That this bike has only 13,000 kilometers on it, so it hasn't got high mileage. It's a 2015
Nobody
model,
can drive as far with it. It's painful.
It's not painful. It's awesome. It's 110,000 rand, just under 10,000 Australian dollars. Which I think it's a type of bike I'm going to really enjoy. And as I say, I've got the Speed Triple. The Thunderbird. I've got the Thunderbird, so if I want to do long distance through the desert, long freeway, I've got that. But, if I want to actually go somewhere fun and do fun stuff, I've got this.
Yeah, KLR. I agree with you. But KLR is a good bike. Rapidly moving on to our Dual Sport Off-Road. Now, this was a difficult category. Because there's a lot of room for interpretation, but obviously being an off-road bike and a dual sport bike, it's got to be, it's a 2023 KTM 390 Adventure, and I managed to get one for $7,900, 7,800 Ks on it, and Nice and light, nimble. You can genuinely take this thing off-road, as in you can take it off-road. You can go ride it on a road. It's really a dual sport bike.
Okay, I'm going to slightly, although we've kind of got a grey area here between dual sport and adventure motorcycles. I mean, it's actually classed, the 390 Adventure is classed more as an adventure. It's got the word adventure in its name, for crying out loud. So, however, what I will say is that it is very small, very light. It's got a very, very nippy sort of engine. That single 390 motor is absolutely fantastic. So I will say that it, although it is technically an adventure bike, it does serve the function of a dual-purpose bike. You can take it just about everywhere. What year model would you say it was?
2023, so it's only 3 years old.
Okay.
So you know, because
that's brilliant.
And that's the reason I went for this. Obviously, you've got all the bikes that have been off-road. I mean, let's be honest about it, Donna. A bike that goes off-road consistently, it wears out. And so this bike is a little bit newer, and it is newer technology in it. It probably has some sort of warranty on it, and it was a good price. Like I say, it is debatable. It's not quite Ducati debatable, but yeah. What did you come up with?
Okay, I will say this much. It's got to know that they were actually selling 2023 model 390 Adventures here in South Africa, still brand new. So old stock still sitting in the warehouse, and they were selling them for 85,000 Rand, which is a ridiculously low price. It's really, I mean, and they were brand new. It's got a nice TFT screen, lovely motor, a lot of, so it's actually a very sort of modern bike. So I went, I've kind of doubled up a little bit. So previously, my adventure bike was a KLR 650, which could also, you could say it's a dual purpose bike, but I said it's got a nice big screen. Now, so adventure is kind of more distance. Dual purpose is more sort of go anywhere. So, you know, you can buy like a 1300 GS, which is an adventure bike, but you don't want to take it up the side of a mountain because you'll kill yourself and it'll, you know. So the KLR can technically do that, but this, my bike is the bike I chose in a very, very similar class, although it's a little bit, it's less comfort, more capability. I went for a Honda XR650L 2013 model. It's got 31,000 kilometers. It is 80,000 Rand, 7,200 Australian dollars. And again, it's old school. I believe it's air cooled thumper, and it goes doot 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 doot. They stopped making them recently with the KLR because the Europeans are a bunch of anyway. They put a whole lot of Euro 5 plus this that on it, so now you can't ride a 650 bloody thing for a cheap price. No, you have to add 100 kilograms worth of catalytic converters and a whole lot of noise cancelling things so people in Switzerland can, I don't know, eat fondue or whatever the hell they do and not hear about the noise. And it all adds 100,000 Rand or $10,000 to the bloody price of the thing without in any way improving the product whatsoever for this much more carbon saving, this much more negligible amount. It's going to make no difference whatsoever to the weather, to anything like that. But however, we must all suffer, and the poor people selling these must anyway. Anyway, after that little rant, I chose an XR650L, which is no longer available. Again, simple thing, practical thing. It'll go anywhere. I know, in fact, a mutual friend of ours, which is Howard Stafford, Howie Zowie they call him. He was a journalist, an old school veteran journalist in South Africa, one of the best ever. He managed to buy the last ever brand new XR650 available in South Africa, which was, I think, about...
Wow.
It's close on 10 years ago. He got the last new one was available, and that was it. They canned the project. No more building them. The Europeans said no more. You have to make complicated motorcycles now. But again, go absolutely anywhere. I know what you said. Yeah, the off-road bikes have been all sorts of places, and maybe with a KTM or some of these other Europeans, no, but a Honda. And it's generally those XR 650s were ridden by older people. Youngsters wanted something a little bit more lively. And so you know it's kind of been ridden well, you know it's been ridden nicely, and it'll go absolutely anywhere. If something goes wrong, I could just take my KLR.
The next category, Donovan, I'm not sure if I should pitch it or if I should let you pitch it. I get the feeling if I let you pitch it, you can kind of come up with a Ducati again. What is your future classic, mate?
Future classic. Keep in mind that a lot of this is bikes that have so this is a bike that, you're going to buy it now, and in the future, it's going to be a classic. So they've got to have kind of a story to it. They've got to have kind of a, it's got to be sort of enigmatic. People are going to look at it and go, wow, okay, one of those, So, like a CBR 600 is not a future classic, because come on, there's a million of them anyway, and it's just kind of, I would have chosen this bike's bigger brother, but they're not future classics. They're already classics, and they're just so out of our price range. It's ridiculous, and they're going up and up and up. So I chose this one. It's a Ducati 748 from 2002. It's on sale for 105,000 Rand, $9,500. It's got 21,000 kilometers, but quite frankly, when I one day in the far distant future, it'll still have 21,000. In fact, it'll probably have 21,005 kilometers on it, because I have actually ridden one of these bikes. They are absolutely majestic and lovely, if a bit old-fashioned. But this bike is one I will buy, polish it up nicely, put it in a case, put a glass casing around it, put it somewhere in my living room or something like that, in front of the TV, because you don't need a TV, you can just look at that thing. The 916 would have been better, but as I say, they already are classics, and you can't, no. Even like a slightly poked one is too expensive, out of our price range. But this is just an absolutely beautiful motorcycle. In fact, when this bike came out, it was 1994. The shape of this motorcycle came out, the original 916. I was 12 years old when that happened. And shall we say, my Freudian development was put on hold for 5 years. All my friends at my age had pictures of Pamela Anderson in a red Baywatch bikini on their walls, and they would talk about girls and talk about all this. I had Ducati 916s and pictures of Carl Fogarty going around a corner, and Troy Corsa. And I didn't need girls because I had these things. They're much better, you know what I mean? That's how brilliant this motorcycle was. And interestingly, I've never ridden a 916 or 916 shaped motorcycle in my life. I've ridden a 748, I've not ridden a 916, and were I given the opportunity, I'd say no, I would not ride that thing. It's especially now in modern day times, having ridden all the modern bikes, that thing is my hero. And there's no way the idea I have in my head of it, there's no ways it can possibly live up to it. I would gladly buy one, I would gladly own it, I will never ride it ever. It'll be something to showcase in my house, and I will love it every single day. But I'll never ride it. But anyway, 748 in our price range, that's a great motorcycle. And if at very least, I think in 10, 20 years' time, I could maybe sell it for at least the same price, probably a bit more.
Yeah, and I do get what you're saying, Donovan, and I might rag you about it, but the truth is I love Ducatis as well. And I know you raced the 1098S and after that the Panigales, and you did really well. You was multiple Battle of the Twin South African champion on the Ducatis. So I know you've always had this thing for Ducati, and I do like them myself. I went a little bit different. And I think this bike is one of those bikes, when it came around, it changed the world a little bit. And I do think modern superbikes has a little bit to thank for this motorbike. So I selected a 1997 Honda CBR 900 RR Fireblade, and not the 916. This was I think they were 916 or something at the time. This is the 893cc, so it's the first one. It was 96, 97 they ran with this. They still came with a 16-inch front wheel. This specific bike, $9,500, 41,000 Ks. It is an older bike. It's coming up on 30 years now. But I think this bike is absolutely one of those bikes that was. We had the GSX-Rs, and then just shortly after that there was some developments with the R1 that came in. But this is the Fireblade. This started the modern generation of superbikes, the 1000cc or 1 litre bikes.
Well, this inspired in 1998. Yamaha came out with the R1. Incidentally, the place, it's called Bike Shop Rivonia. It's the place I went to look at all the bikes. They got 2 dealerships. Between them, they got 800 motorcycles. So, lots of picking. They've got an original 1998 red and white Yamaha R1 there, the original. Now, the Fireblade was a 900. Then became, I think it was a 954. I think it was later on, or something like that. And but the R1 was the first of the kind of modern day 4-cylinder 1000 cc's. but it was the reason they were inspired to build it is because of the Fireblade, the 900 Fireblade, and it was known for being very, very light. So it kind of the idea is that it had superbikes in those days were racing 750 4-cylinders. The whole idea behind it was that it would be the same sort of weight and same sort of feel as a 750, but just with a bigger engine and more horsepower. And glorious motorcycle. Kawasaki came out with the ZX-9R, also kind of in response to that. But then the R1, the first of the 1000cc 4s came out, and you're right, it is a sort of, although the 16-inch front, I don't know where you're going to find tires for that thing, but I imagine for you it's one of those bikes you're never actually going to ride. You'll just sort of keep it nice and keep it polished, and maybe every now and again keep the battery charged, much like my Ducati. Now the next class you chose is called a Wildcard, which is, so go on, explain this. This is our Joker card.
It is a Joker card, dude, and I put it in there, and obviously it's called Wildcard. I fully expect you to put your super motard in there. I've got no idea what you would have selected. I've got my bike selected. I don't know, maybe I'll go first. I'll tell you what I did. I went for a 2016 Ducati Scrambler.
Oh, okay. Which one? The 800
$7,000.
The 800 Scrambler.
Yeah, but 800. Yeah, 800 Scrambler for $7,000.
The thing about a Ducati Scrambler, I went to the world launch. They had it in Palm Springs, California. The thing about the Scrambler is you can't. It's a bit like the Scout, the Indian Scout. You can't be unhappy when you're riding one. You just can't. It's one of these motorcycles, and you can't explain why. It just gives you happy feelings. It's like it doesn't have the horsepower, it doesn't have the turn, it doesn't have any of that. It looks pretty cool, but it's not the best looking motorcycle ever. But you get on it and you ride and you're happy. You just feel good, and it's got this perkiness about it, and the sort of, you're right. So it doesn't quite serve any sort of function. It's not a proper off-roading machine. It's an off-road style machine. It's more for shorter trips here and there. It'll work well as a commuter. But it's just fun, and you feel happy. And if one day you're feeling a little bit sad or a little bit down and you need a bit of a pick-me-up, but get on that thing, go for a fun ride anywhere, and you'll be happy again, No, I'm thoroughly with you. Mine, so the thing is that I had two choices for my future classic. And I wasn't sure which one to take, and then I saw Wildcard, and I sort of thought, well, what am I going to put in there? And I sort of wanted both of these because they're both kind of future classics, and they're both very interesting. And I was like, stuff it. Wildcard doesn't really have a definition, so I'll just stick the other one in there and just sort of say. I went for a 2002 BMW C1, the scooter with the roof on top of it. You remember those things?
Motorbikes, not scooters, Donovan. Seriously, man.
Oh, come on. This is... come on. It's got two wheels and handlebars and a motor. It's a motorcycle.
I do remember them coming out at the time, and it was absolutely... We were all actually quite intrigued by it. And obviously... I'm not even sure if you needed a helmet to ride it. Some countries you did, some countries you didn't. And you wouldn't get wet when it rained because it had the whole roof on it. But unfortunately, it was a really small motor, and I don't think they really took off.
No, okay, and it was an absolute pain in the ass. But as I said, I kind of looked at it and thought that would be a fun bike to have sitting in my garage, if you know what I mean. It just, it's one of these, it's a bit of a story. It's an anecdotal motorcycle.
It does.
It didn't work because it was a pain in the ass, because it was essentially a scooter. It's essentially a scooter. And one of the things about a scooter is it's hop on and go. And it's very easy, and it's fun, and it's straightforward, and it's ease of use. This thing was not easy at all. It didn't have a side stand. It had this strange kind of pulley systems with all these different handles that set down a center stand. You stopped, you pulled out this handle that did this, and then you pulled out that handle, and then you put it in this, and you did that. Then the bike would lift off the ground, and it had to be on a fairly kind of stable, because it was leaning over, then it would fall over. And there was a whole lot of pulley, so it definitely wasn't. You had to stop, do all this weird sort of ceremony almost to get the bike to not fall over when you parked it, and then you go inside, do your thing, climb back on it, do another whole ceremony of pulling different things, and then when it does eventually goes down with the roof, it's so heavy you'll just fall over anyway. It was extremely top heavy. You would ride around, and every time you go around a corner, you feel like you're going to fall over because it's got this giant roof at the top. Yeah, and it was a fairly heavy motorcycle, and the motor was a bit too small, so it didn't really go anywhere very quickly. But again, this is, I mean, I've got enough motorcycles to kind of fulfill my kind of all my riding needs. This is more my kind of anecdotal fun. And it is a motorcycle I think will be a future classic, and it's not a future classic right now. This one's a 2002 model. It's got 31,000 Ks on. It's 50,000 Rand, 4,500 Australian dollars, and yeah, so it's not a future classic now, but I think it kind of will be. It's one of those sort of stories. It's a failed project, but failed projects usually do become future classics, especially when they've got a kind of an anecdotal story. So I've got this anecdotal motorcycle sitting here, and if it rains, then I could just I want to ride a motorcycle and just not get wet.
Well, the thing is, Donovan, and like you say, it is by no stretch of the imagination, it is a conversation starter, and I can see why you went with it. Personally, I wouldn't go with it, but hey, each to his own. So for $10,000, guys, this is our motorcycle garage. It was South Africa versus Australia, or Australia versus South Africa. Now, I'd like to know from you guys, if you were to buy a bike on this budget, what would you buy? Please drop those links, drop it in the comments below, and we'll definitely comment on those, and maybe, who knows, down the road we'll talk about that again.
And also it's South Africa versus Australia, so you have to let us know who won. Personally, I think it's me. I won with my boring super bike and my touring bike that's definitely going to break down, and my weekend fun bike that's definitely going to break down, and a whole lot of other bikes that are but personally, I think I won. If you're a bit mad and you disagree with me, comment in below who won South Africa versus Australia. And that was good fun. On motorcycles fun, we keep saying that riding a motorcycle is only a small part of motorcycling. The rest of it is this what we're doing now, before a ride, after a ride, in between rides, everything like that. It's all about socializing, being with fellow motorcycles, loving motorcycles, and then talking about it, getting all excited and finding fun stuff.
Well, I'd like to think that I got the victory, and let that may be as it will. This is real bikes, real riders. We'll see you on the next one. Until next time, keep the rubber side down.